Hello and welcome to Master Gardening. I'm your host, Bud Qualk, and we talk all the time about fantastic shows, great shows. This is the best show we ever had. Well, this one's going to knock your socks off. We're at Jim and Phyllis Petcoff's farm, so stay tuned. We'll be right back. This is Phyllis Petcoff, and we're at the Pitcup Farm. You call it a farm?
Well, we can call it a farm, the Petcoff Gardens, the hangout. It's been known for many things.
Pomot. No, that wouldn't work.
It used to be the Reeves Farm.
The Reeves Farm was your
That was my grandfather. I inherited this farm. It's 43 acres, more or less.
And it was basically already set up, and you just walked into this wonderful.
Well, there wasn't much of a garden here, although my grandmother was a great gardener. She never had much money, so anything that she had in her garden was nearly always pass along plants or things that she dug up in the woods, that sort of thing.
Where was you've got a house back here, but
yes,
what was the layout?
Well, where you can see the house in the background back here, that was once tobacco barn. That was
You didn't want to keep the tobacco barn? No?
Well, we still had a tobacco base, but we rented it out at the time, and we didn't use this farm for it.
Okay.
But anyway, there was a tobacco barn there, and mostly covered or infested by termites. So as much as I hated to take it down because it had been a landmark here for years. My mother said it was actually here when they bought the farm in 1923.
23.
So the barn was probably over 100 years old.
Right before the Depression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my grandparents' farm their house was up behind our cameraman.
And when did you come here, and when did you say?
Permanently, after I retired in 1999.
Okay, and you started building the house.
We actually built the house before we got here. We built the house in 1994.
Good idea. You had to put somewhere to sleep.
That's right. So it was here waiting for us.
Short trip on
I
weekends.
did some gardening before we got here, but things that, like the trees here, those were planted before we ever lived here. And now they've gotten huge. But I'd only put in things that could care for themselves. Trees for the most part.
Natives maybe? Stuff that are used to drought?
Yeah, well, my husband and I are kind of tree collectors. So I would buy these exotic type trees, not exotic like from far away, but strange ones. Like this one here is a hornbeam. And I don't know
You're not a tree hoarder, are you?
I don't think I'm a hoarder, but anyway, I like specimen trees, and that's what this is.
If we had time to go through the whole garden, there's just hundreds of different ones. You don't see them until you start looking for trees. And right now I can see about 40 trees right here, and every one of them's different almost,
they
except
are.
for these oaks that are down through here, and these are beautiful.
We planted a row of 10 oak trees all along here, and luck was with us. The ones that died were on either end.
Oh, perfect.
So it kept the ones right here in the
middle. You don't have a hole in there.
But they're really great now. We have shade in the front yard most of the day.
Lots of shade everywhere, and thank heavens. This is a hot day right now. Now, how did you get into gardening? Did your dad garden and you took over?
Well, my maternal grandmother, as I mentioned, she was a great gardener. My fraternal grandfather was an absolutely fantastic gardener. He used to have one of those vegetable gardens that you couldn't find a weed in it. I think he probably
hate those guys. Hate them.
I think he did to get away from my grandmother. But anyway, whatever. It was a
Didn't
beautiful
even have
garden.
Roundup back then.
But they kindled my interest in gardening. And I'd heard about the Master Gardener program even when we lived in Indiana. But working, I couldn't attend the classes because they're nearly always in the daytime. So when we moved here, and I found out that there was a Master Gardener program in Paducah, which is where we met. And I have met some wonderful friends through Master Gardeners, and some of whom are still friends.
We had a bunch of characters in that class.
We did indeed.
Not to mention Jeff Dreyer and Tricia Baxter and Ann Russell and Jackie Jones and
as I recall, on the final exam, you and I both missed one question.
The same one?
No. They were two different questions.
You weren't copying.
No, but you and I got identical scores, and I believe Jeff did. And but we missed different questions.
Oh, the soft live larvae. What is it called?
Mine was the sawfly.
Sawfly. That's mine. So we did miss the same one.
Oh, well, okay. Maybe it was Jeff.
It was in the caterpillar book, but it wasn't a caterpillar. It was a maggot.
Yes.
It was a trick question.
It was.
Yeah.
And but anyway, we did a good score.
We got as good a score as ever been done on the Master Gardening until the next year when Eileen got a perfect score and ruined everything.
Yes.
So we came off the board as record holders.
So, but the Master Gardener program was wonderful. I'm not as active in it now.
They're still doing wonderful things.
Indeed they are. And they're getting a new extension office, which will probably have new gardening space there. And
The garden is supposed to move too, but
yes,
it's kind of on hold maybe.
Yeah. Right now they're at the county fair, and I worked there yesterday
The flower
helping
show.
set up the flower show.
We've done the show there.
Yes.
We've done 2 of them, as a matter of fact. We did one about 15 years ago, and then we did one about 3 years ago,
Oh.
I think. Yeah.
It,
Update.
Yeah,
It's a lot nicer now than it was back then.
Oh, yes, it is. It's air conditioned in there now.
Yeah, it was terrible. When it wasn't, it was in a barn in the middle of summer. You can imagine.
But I like plants that I don't have to baby too much. My rose garden looks absolutely disastrous this year because roses do take a lot of care.
And they don't like this climate we have.
They really don't. They were beautiful in May when we had a fairly cool May, and they were just covered in blooms and looked very nice. Now, not so much, and there's a lot of weeds in there. But roses need to be sprayed. They need to be debugged. They need a lot of
Water,
care.
yeah.
So I'm into hostas.
Hostas love it.
Hostas love it here.
Hydrangeas.
Hydrangeas, various kinds of trees, wildflowers. I'm trying to get into. I've turned my vegetable garden because I don't do vegetables anymore.
Oh, it's a shame. It's a shame.
Well, they have truck farms for that.
Yeah.
But
You turned it into what?
I turned it into a wildflower bed for a way station for monarch butterflies.
Monarch butterflies.
Because
milkweed too. Yeah.
And milkweed. The monarchs are in great trouble here in this country, and they're losing their habitat. You've noticed around here that the fields, when they plant the corn and the soybeans, they take down the fences and everything. So you've just got this enormous, where we once had fence rows that had weeds and things like the milkweed.
Natural flowers, yes.
And that was feed them. Now there's not. There's nothing in a cornfield that will help a monarch.
And they spray that fence usually and kill everything.
And they kill everything. So it's a big push in Kentucky and with the garden clubs.
Garden Club of Kentucky, National Garden Club are all top priority.
Into this monarch way stations. That's planting flowers that are feeding plants, resting places for them, nectar plants, but monarchs only feed on milkweed.
Right, and out there, if you've got a chance to do anything for the monarchs, we're asking
If you see milkweed in your yard, leave it.
Yeah, that's special.
Yes.
And it's a very unusual plant, so it's kind of fun.
They eat the regular milkweed, which is one that has the balls of flowers, and there's one called swamp milkweed, which they also eat.
Okay.
But that's their sole food source.
Okay.
Did you know how the monarchs get here?
From Canada.
They spend the winter in Mexico.
Right.
And when they leave there, they go to Texas and that part of the coast there, lay their eggs, hatch a new family. Those folks move up here. They're the ones that we're going to see in Kentucky about now.
And we don't know how they know to do that.
We don't. And then they go a little further north up into lower parts of Canada. And when that brood hatches out, that's the 3rd generation now since they've left Mexico. That 3rd generation will fly back to Mexico, to the same place that their great-grandparents came from. How do they know?
I don't know. I don't know how they do know.
But I think it's fascinating, and I would be bereft if we would lose our monarchs.
Well, we talked about this is going to be a daylily show plus. Let's go look at some daylilies. Phyllis, you've got a huge,
Absolutely.
You got beds everywhere, but you got a huge bed over here
Yes.
next to where we're sitting, and let's go over there and get some shots over there.
Absolutely.
Well, Phyllis, this is one of your smaller gardens here.
It is. It was my attempt to get away from mowing grass.
Well, I don't see any grass in there.
Well, wait. But
Wait.
anyway, this is a combination bed. Right now we have daylilies, Hemeracalis,
Hemeracalis.
which is
Wait.
Latin for
Hemer who?
daylily.
Oh, okay.
And I also have daffodils in here that you will see about April. And the plus is that when daffodil leaves start turning yellow and ugly, the leaves of the Hemeracalis are coming out and cover it up.
Well, I was here earlier in the spring and there were no daylilies. It was solid, and we need to do a daffodil show.
Yeah.
That would have been we should have done that earlier in the spring, and we could have referred to the last show, but
But that's a good combination, because that way you don't have to fool around with because you should always let daffodils die down of their own accord and let the leaves completely turn brown.
yeah, don't tie them up like Martha Stewart.
No, or plait them.
Oh,
I think P. Allen Smith did that once.
P. Allen Smith did it too?
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Now,
I think he knows better now.
when did you plant all these? They look just
The
solid.
ones that are the tallest in here have been in about 18 years. We formerly lived in northwest Indiana, and these were ones that I had there, and when we moved here I had dug them up and planted them here. The first few years it was a little tough. The grass was trying to take them over, but after many a sweaty night,
I think you've accomplished it.
so they pretty well smother out most weeds. Occasionally I'll get a
little tree.
tree or that one's vines there, and there's a mule tail coming up over there. You'll get the single weeds, but you can step in there and pull those out. But most of the grass and stuff has been smothered out.
It's like Bermuda grass. When it gets to a certain stage, it kind of smothers everything out.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still probably no maintenance, right? No
Well, it's low maintenance.
You don't deadhead these things, do you?
No, I don't. Some people recommend that, and I suppose it makes them look neater, but if you think I'm coming out here with a basket every day, you're crazy.
Now, how long does the bloom last?
One day.
Daylily. Daylily.
Daylily.
Most of you guys knew that, okay?
And all these others will be out in the next couple of days. This is one of the newer ones that I have. They're called tetraploids, and I'm not really sure what that means, but anyway, it has
Sounds good.
It has to do with the shape. You have the 3 round petals and then 3 elongated petals.
Well, now that you've got that one pulled out, what are these things in the middle?
Well, this is your stamens, and this is the pistil, and the stamens have the anthers on the end with the pollen. And
Well, how do they get on a pistil?
windblown bugs, bees like these, so they're around here with it.
And we saw the hummingbird moth just a second ago before we started the show. Those are things that are really wonderful.
So they're pretty low maintenance. There's not many diseases that bother them.
I've never heard of any disease. I've never had any problems with diseases or anything.
No, I haven't either. And they're very easy when you decide you want to dig them up about when they finish blooming, late August, early September. You can come out with a spading fork, dig the whole mass up, and the easiest thing is to put on a swimsuit and sit down with a garden hose.
I'm not putting any swimsuit on in my neighborhood.
Because it's messy. You take a garden hose to get all the dirt off.
Okay.
And then divide them. They have tubers that look like sort of like mini sweet potatoes. Mm-hmm. They're white and they just sort of dangle. So you want to save it and leave it with a fan on top. That would be the part of the leaves. So you cut the leaves off, leave it about 4 inches high, and separate them. And each one of those will grow into a new plant.
And you're needing to do some of that and give them away to friends this fall.
To my needy friends.
You don't take a shovel. You just took a shovel. And,
I have found that a spading fork works better than a shovel.
shovel. Okay.
I'm not sure why, but it does. I've tried both ways, and the spading fork works much better.
Well, I think that maybe let me comment. The fork lets it go where it should divide, and the shovel just divides it wherever in the heck it wants to.
And you come up with a huge lump of dirt.
That's right. Okay.
So, and of course, you need to wait till you've had a rain. Otherwise, the soil here is like concrete. Right now, it's ideal.
Most places in this part of the country, it's like concrete. Are you? And some of these, I noticed that a lot of them are what look like the same thing you brought from your previous home. But then along here, and you want to go down through here and look at some of these.
Yeah, these are the ones that I have bought from various suppliers.
I love the yellows.
Yeah, this one's a very nice one.
You've got name tags on a lot of them, but and that makes me mad because I can't do that. I've tried. It's a really.
This one is it's not open, but it's a really pretty color. It's an apricot shade. I think that one is prairie blue eyes. I don't know why, because there's no blue eyes in it, but.
That got your attention, though.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, I love the reds. And you've got a bunch of different reds. If you look at them, it looks like maybe they're all one variety, but if you look at them closely, they're all different. There's a lighter one there.
I have peonies mixed in here too as well. So in May, I have a nice show of those after the daffodils have finished and before the daylilies come along. Daylilies tend to start the 3rd week in June, and these will bloom halfway through July, so you've got a good month of bloom.
You've never had one bloom in the fall, have you? I cut mine back. If they really start looking ugly, I cut them all the way back to the ground, and then they come back up nice and beautiful green again. At least they don't look dead.
Well, that could be. I have not done that.
I've never had any bloom before, but at least they look prettier with you.
Mine go down when the frost gets them.
Yeah, easy maintenance.
Yes, yes. This one's a nice lavender shade.
They come in almost every shade, don't they?
Except a pure white. That's what breeders are still working on, is trying to get an absolutely white one. But
the
so
rose
far,
guys are trying to get the black, and the lilies are trying to get the white.
There's no blue one. I mean, so they sometimes will call these lavender ones blue, but obviously that's not blue.
The little tiny yellow ones here. That's
yes.
A miniature.
And this is a lovely one here that has the
Rise and Shine.
This one here is Solomon's Seal. It's really pretty. It has a purple center.
You can get almost any color except for white, huh?
Yes.
And blue.
Yes.
Now, what do you do when they all stop blooming? They start turning brown. You got your choice, don't you? You said you don't do anything with them?
The stems will turn brown, and that's kind of an ugly time of the year. But I wait till they're all brown, and then you can kind of go in there with your arm and get a whole bush's worth of the limbs and pull them out.
You're talking about these stems here?
Right.
Turn brown and...
What are they called? Stalks?
Stalks?
No, they have another name, but...
Stalks is good for me.
When they dry out and they turn brown, they will pop out of the...
Real easily.
You don't want to pull them out now because they're green and you'll damage the plant.
Have you ever taken them inside, cut them for They're beautiful and cut.
They are.
If you took about 20 or 30 of these, it'd make a beautiful vase.
They do look very nice, and I have done that.
Yeah, they just last one day though.
Just one day.
Yeah. The peonies, you've got. I mean, we'll do a show on peonies, but those you've got a bunch of those.
Yeah, I have a humongous amount of these maroon colored ones. That's the ones I keep trying to thin out and not doing so well.
I'll take a couple.
We can do that.
I'll come here and help you. What do you think?
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we want to move somewhere now?
Yeah. Let's take a tour through your garden next. Okay. What's this, Phyllis?
Well, this is another lily.
It looks like a lily, got the same makeup and everything.
Right, but this is not a daylily and not a hemerocallis. This is what is known as an orient pet. It's a new...
6 feet tall.
They can be much taller than this even. They're a combination of 2 different kinds of Oriental lilies. I'm not sure exactly what they are, but their thing is that they have this cluster of blooms at the top of this very tall stem.
How long do the blooms last?
2 or 3 days.
Oh.
They last longer than the daylilies do. And the plus in these, they have a lovely fragrance.
Ah. And watch out for the bugs. There's bugs all over these things.
You can tell that I don't do a lot of spraying around here because we still have bugs.
So this comes back year after year. This is a perennial.
Does. Yes.
Okay.
It comes back from a bulb.
There's a bulb underneath.
Looks sort of like a garlic bulb.
Now, what the heck is this you're standing in?
Well, this that I'm standing in the midst of is a star magnolia.
I recognize the leaves, yes.
Yes, they have much smaller leaves, and it's a deciduous tree. It's not like the Magnolia grandiflora that stays green year-round. These will fall off. They bloom extremely early, end of March.
Big white blooms?
Not big. They're so big.
Average size.
And floppy petals.
Like ivory almost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But easily damaged by the wind or frost, of course.
This is one of the hundreds of trees you've got here, and I wish we could go through it all.
Yeah, my husband and I tend to be tree collectors. So.
Yeah. And this is another crepe myrtle, and I see you don't chop yours off.
No, they I kind of let them grow as they grow.
I like them better like that too.
What was it? Paul James says it was crepe murder.
Crepe murder, yeah. And I've seen them cut off all the way back down here.
Mm-hmm.
If that's what you like, okay. But I tell you, a lot of them took a hit this last winter. They died back to the ground.
The thing that's unfortunate is now that they bloom way at the top, so it's a little hard to see the blossoms. Yeah. And they bloom on new growth, so.
Okay, let's go look at the hostas.
All right, we can do that. Well, Bud, this is my hosta bed, one of several I have.
You only have about 1,000 in here. $5 a throw?
Yes, this is another one of my no-care plants.
How does it no care?
Well, they don't need much tending to. They don't get many diseases. The one that they do get, you should be aware of, is called petiole rot.
Hostas?
Hostas. And if you see your hostas falling down from the bottom of the leaf, down really close to the ground.
Just falling down.
Falling down, and the end of it looks rotted. That's a virus disease. You need to dig that sucker up, burn it, throw it away.
Go in the neighbor's yard.
Yeah. No, well, you don't even want it in the neighbor's yard because it does spread. It's wind-borne.
Oh, me.
So
I've never had that, but I didn't know that was...
I've had it in one, and it hasn't come back, but I dug up the whole thing, dug up 6 inches of dirt around it.
Okay, you know what happens if the leaves all turn brown by the tips? You know what causes that, don't you? You planted them in the sun!
Thank you. I will notice that
I've seen so many, and they still look good in the spring, but then as the fall, then they all turn brown.
Yes, I have some like that. Usually the tree has died over it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that happens. You're not the first person to tell me that. My next door neighbor, that happened, but her neighbor cut down 2 trees, and that took her shade away.
And there goes the hostas.
Bango, bango, bongo. A lot of leaves in there. Is that what keeps the weeds down?
It helps, and I also use lots of Treflan, which is the commercial name for a weed repellent like preen.
So you pay that big price for that little bottle of preen?
Well, yeah, you go to your local farm store and you ask them for Treflan, and
they give you a big bucket for half price.
Yes, it's the generic type. But anyway, I go through here, weed it in the spring, sprinkle the Treflan on it. That will keep the weeds down the rest of the summer, for the most part.
Pre-emergent herbicide, which kills the seeds.
Right, before they can germinate.
That's what's in the 365 Roundup. They say, well, Roundup's stronger. No, it's not. It just kills the weeds, and it has the Treflan in there that kills the seeds. And you can use that for any bed.
Yes, yes. And I do it again in the fall to keep the winter weeds down.
There are winter weeds?
Henbit, dead nettle. That's the purple stuff you see out in the fields.
Yeah, beautiful purple, yeah.
But I've had, when I first put this bed in, it looked like it was carpeted, because it had so much of that stuff in it. But I've pretty well got it under control.
It looks wonderful. Yeah, you look. This would be a full-time job if you didn't do that. Weeding all this stuff.
And I put plants in that are compatible with my hostas. This is variegated Solomon seal.
I would have never guessed. Where'd you get that?
That was a gift from my good friend Sally Wilkins.
Oh, Sally has given me stuff before.
Those are the best kind of plants to have from your friends.
So you remember, everything needs to have a story behind it.
I remember those.
Yeah.
So we have variegated Solomon seal there, and we have miniature Solomon seal over there.
Oh my gosh. And then over here is
and that's a Japanese maple, which I have planted in here till I can get it to a size that it can kind of live on its own.
It's still in the pot, so you got to remember where it is in case you need to water it from time to time.
Yes.
But they're pretty hardy anyway, right?
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
But I have When I first started planting hostas, I just put them in without labels. But now that I have gotten so many, I want to have my labels
There's
on
a
them.
label on every one of these things. I can't believe it. Those things are
Hey.
expensive, aren't they?
Well,
Buy them by bulk, I guess.
yes.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you're retired with a disposable income.
Okay.
So,
Well, I wish we had another hour to do, but we don't. Phyllis, thank you so much for letting us come into your farm today.
I'm delighted to have you here.
Okay.
And
thank
welcome
you,
anytime.
Thank you, viewers, for tuning in. Until next time, I'm your host, Bud Qualk. Master Gardening, good gardening.